Logan from with the Backwoodsman Institute. Today in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make a wing bone turkey call, such as this one right here. Now, if you do research on turkey calls, you'll find out that the first ones documented were wing bone turkey calls such as this one. Native Americans made these hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and the ingenuity behind it just blows my mind. And the awesome thing with these type of calls are everything comes from the turkey, the wing, as a matter of fact. That's why they call it a wing bone turkey call. Now, I harvested a bird the second day of Indiana spring turkey season. And in this video, you're going to see a step-by-step process of how I turned a turkey wing into a turkey call you can use in the woods. And I'm also going to go over how to use this call. So, with that being said, let's get this video started. Alright, here's the wing I took off the bird I harvested. Now, there's three main parts of a turkey wing. You got this bone right here, and it's the closest to the breast meat of the turkey. This middle one here has actually got two smaller bones in it, and then same thing with this one. It's got two smaller bones here at the tip. Now we're going to be utilizing this bone right here, the one that's closest to the breast meat, and this middle portion. Now the way I'm going to show you to take this apart is, well, I'm going to try to keep these wings intact because I want to add them to my tail mount of the turkey that I harvested. But if you weren't going to keep them, you can use them for fletching. You can keep the feathers for fletching arrows, or you can just bust them up and get the bones out of here. But I'm going to try to take this apart, keeping most of this intact. First thing I'm going to do is just cut a slit where you can start seeing the meat and the bone. Alright, I got some of the meat whittled away. Here's a close-up of the bones we're going to be using. This big bone right here that's attached to the breast meat. This bone right here, and this one right here. Now, these feathers are attached to a real thick piece of skin, and it's on the outside of this bone right here. So we need to take our knife and cut it. Like I said, I'm using this for kind of a taxidermy project for myself, but if you weren't, you could be a little less cautious about how you do this. Alright, I got it pretty well loose. There's still a little more on there, but I'm going to start taking this bone out and getting all the skin cleared off of it. Alright, now I got this main bone free. And right in the joint, there's just tendons holding it right here in this ball joint. So what I gotta do is take my knife and cut in there and pull this bone free. Just like that. Set it off to the side. Alright, I got the middle part of this wing free. Now we have to find the joint just like we did with the bigger bone, and we gotta cut it loose the same way. Alright, now we got this middle part out. This is as far as I need to go when making a wing bone turkey call. I got some more work to do to make it taxidermy ready, but I'm going to set this wing off to the side for now. So here's the three main pieces. We want to cut these two separate, and then we're going to clean up the meat off of them. Now when we're scraping this off, it doesn't have to be perfect right now, because what we're going to do, we're going to get a pot of water boiling, and we're going to toss them in there, and then we'll be able to pick the rest of it off and pick them clean. Alright, so here's our three main pieces. Now how this works is each piece gets fitted into the other one. Now you got to think big to small when it comes to this. The biggest end is going to be your very end, kind of like your bell, the bell of an end of a coyote call or a coyote howl or anything like that. So this biggest end is going to be our bell. We're going to cut it off right here with a hacksaw. Now, as you can see with this big bone, it doesn't have marrow in it. It's actually hollow. And these other wing bones do have marrow. So whenever we boil it down, we're going to have to take a coat hanger or something, paper clip, anything to knock the bone marrow out of here. But I'm going to cut off both ends of all three bones here. Alright, here's our three pieces we're going to put in the boiling water. And this is kind of how they line up. And like I said before, I cut them long so I can manipulate it and cut them where I need to afterwards. But it's kind of going to line up something like that. Before we put them in the pot to boil them, I took a coat hanger right here, and I cut it off, and we want to punch out as much of that bone marrow as we can and scoop it out. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put it in a pot of boiling water, and we're going to basically cook the rest of that bone marrow off, and we're going to boil it until we can get all of that bone marrow out of there. Now if you want to, whenever you get a pot boiling, you can add some dishwashing soap to it. It'll help soften up some of that meat and take it off. if you want like a bleach white caul, you can add bleach or peroxide to it, and it'll help it from discoloring to you. This big piece that didn't have the marrow has the bone, the hollow bone pieces in there. We're gonna wait until we cut that to length after we boil it, and then we're gonna take a knife and we're gonna hollow it out to where we can slide these other bone pieces up into it. But we're gonna get the water hot and then add our dishwashing soap, and we're gonna toss them in the boiling water. Now we're gonna let them cook until we can get them cleaned up. All right, these have been cooking for about 5 minutes, and I've been testing them. They look like they'll be cleaning up nice, so I'm gonna take them off the burner. All right, just took these out of the boiling water, and I'm gonna scrape them up, clean them off. All right, I got the meat cleaned up somewhat. What I want to do now is I kind of want to somewhat fit these together, and I'm going to mark where I want to make a rough final cut. Now how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to line them up, and I'm going to take a little bit off of this front bell because it angles up pretty much. So I'm going to take a little off there. I made that mark kind of big so you can kind of see it. And then I want to match it up with the other one and see where I need to make a rough cut. I'm even going to take a little bit off of this front because I don't need it that big of a bell on the end. And also there's a pocket right there that I kind of want to try to get rid of. On the very end piece, we have a somewhat of a round end, and we have kind of a flatter end. Now this flatter end is going to be our mouthpiece. So this one is going to end up fitting into the other one. Now I do still have all them hollow bone pieces in there, so I'm going to take a knife and very carefully, making sure I don't damage the outside of the bone, I'm going to chip this away. And then I'm going to put it back into the pot of boiling water and do a final cleanup. I just pulled them out of the pot of water the second time. Now I'm using a pipe cleaner to really get all that bone marrow out of the inside of these bones here. Alright, I got her all cleaned out now. Next thing we need to do is to fit it together. Now I got some 240 grit sandpaper right here. Any like 200 grit, anything like that would work. Alright, this just barely fits in there, so we're going to take a little bit off of this end with the sandpaper and get it to fit in there. Alright, this one fits in here right. Now on this piece, remember how we got our flat end and we got our normal kind of more of a circle end. That bigger end is going to go in here. I want that flat piece to be horizontal because it's going to be my mouthpiece. Now I want it to have some shape and form somewhat like that. The key with whenever you're sanding is to go little at a time because you don't want to take off too much. Even though you can fill with epoxy, you want it to have as tight as a fit as possible. I got to take a little more off. Alright, now that piece fits in there. It's not a perfect horizontal, but whenever I put it to my mouth and cut my hands like I'm going to be using it, it feels normal. So we're going to roll with that. Now I'm going to be putting these together with something I think a lot of people have laying around the house, and that's normal super glue and Elmer's glue. I want to use the super glue because I want something that's going to sit up right away. And then I want to use the Elmer's glue to fill in the holes. So I'm going to put super glue on the joint that I'm going to put together. I'm going to put some on each side of it, on both pieces, and I'm going to fit it together. Alright, now we're going to let this super glue sit up for a little while, and then we're going to fill in the cracks. Since this is a suction caul, everything has to be airtight in order for this to work. So we're going to fill in the cracks with Elmer's glue. I'm going to take some Elmer's glue and apply it to the joints anywhere there's a gap. I'm just going to go all the way around it just for good measure. Alright, let this bad boy set up overnight. Now this is the time that if there's any spots where the glue kind of sunk in or any spots that need to be re-glued, this is the time to do it. But this looks pretty good. I did add a little dab here and there just because it's sunk down a little bit, but it looks good. Now what I want to do here is this mouth tip, I don't know if you can see it, but it is not very smooth. Alright, so I want to take my sandpaper and I want to smooth it down. very, very gently, just to get rid of any rough edges, because this part is going in your mouth. All right, I want to attach a lanyard to this wing bone turkey call, and how I'm going to do that is I got the actual piece that's going to go around my neck is about 4 foot of 550 cord. Now, I really don't need 4 foot, but I cut it long just so I can work with it. All right, now how I'm going to attach this neck lanyard to the call is I'm going to use artificial sinew. Now, you can use whatever you want, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to lash onto this call, and I don't want it to be balanced like this, hanging off my neck. I want it to be kind of bottom heavy, so it's laying vertical on my chest. That way, in that case, I gotta basically find the balancing point and go behind it. And I'm gonna actually tie off to right about in this area right here. All right, right there, that's how I chose to attach my lanyard to this wing bone turkey call. Possibilities are endless here. You can use your imagination. You could, if you wanted 550 cord, if you had bank line, if you had decoy line, I mean, whatever you wanted, leather strap. Possibilities are endless, so you can take from this and run from it if you want. But that's how I chose to do it. Now I'm going to show you how I'm going to rig this up to where I can adjust this lanyard at any given time to adjust for how I want to wear it while I'm hunting. All right, I want to take this call and this lanyard and I'm going to wrap it around my neck to about where I think it should hang. And that's about right here. Then on the back, just hold it with your fingers right there because you're going to tie a knot. Mark it on both ends. And then what I do is I take one line, and right where I had it marked, right there, I take one line, and I'm just going to tie an overhand knot on one of the strings. Right? Just an overhand knot on one of the string. This string, see how it pulls through, right? I'm going to tie a knot onto the string that I just used to tie the knot. So the string that's loose, pulling through this knot, I'm going to tie a simple overhand knot onto that string. All right, now I got 2 knots, each individually tied on each string coming up from the call. Now all I have to do is pull apart and the call gets shorter. You can bring it up closer to your neck or vice versa. You can pull it back the other way and the call is gonna hang down lower, just like that. Now let me cut up the tails. Like I said, the possibilities for the lanyard are endless, but I use this, made it adjustable so I can adjust it to any type of gear that I have on or any situation and always be comfortable and ready to use. Now, let me go show you how this thing works. Now we're briefly going to go over how to use a wing bone turkey call. Now this is a suction call, and it's not like drinking through a straw. You got to make kind of a smooching or kissing noise like this, and it'll sound like that. And you just little short tufts of air, and how it makes its noise is the air passes through each one of these bone chambers, and that creates a yelp. All right, now let's talk about the yelp. I use 4 to 6 segments in the sequence of yelp. It sounds something like this. Alright, notice how I make a sound chamber at the end of my call. What I'm doing there is I'm controlling the volume that's outputted from this call. And let's say I got a turkey coming in real close, I don't want to blast them out of the water, I just got to muffle my hands and keep that sound down. Sound something like this. Alright, but if he's out there, all you got to do is open your hands up and catch that sound out. Now another sound you can make with this call is a cut. Now how I associate a cut in nature is with an excited bird, or a bird I spooked, or a bird that's coming in, but it knows something ain't right and it's trying to figure it out. And it sounds like a yelp, but in only one segment, not in the cadence. Chip, 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 chip. It's just chip, chip. And you can throw a kicker off there like chip, chip, chip. Sounds something like this. Alright, those are cuts. Now I know some people who can make a gobble out of a wing bone turkey call, but I'll be honest with you, I can't do it. I can't move my hands fast enough. So what it comes down to is if you make one of these, you just got to practice with it and see what kind of turkey sounds you can make out of this call. Now if you guys decide to make a wing bone turkey call, you know, it's not that hard of a process. I made the video step by step so you had no doubt. But I mean, now I have something to hold on to other than, you know, harvesting the bird for the meat, the spurs, the beard, the tail fan. Now I got a turkey call that I can use in future hunts. So I recommend making one, or at least giving it a try. So I hope you guys like this video and learn from it. Catch you in a bit.